Welcome to Almanac North. I'm Mari Hewitt.
And I'm Brett Scott. Thank you for joining us. Tonight, we're talking weddings and event planning with a local DJ and event coordinator.
We're also checking out a performance from the Hibbing-based band Sugar on the Roof.
That's all coming up, but first we begin this evening. Temperatures dropping, of course. Experts are urging caution to prevent cold-related injuries like frostbite and hypothermia. Dr. Brian Judge from Aspirus Health advises wearing layers, covering extremities, and also staying dry to reduce the risk. Keep gloves, hats, and boots on hand, especially if you're out in the car. Stay hydrated and be aware of frostbite signs like numbness or tingling. If engaging in outdoor activities, you want to plan ahead, check the weather, and always prioritize safety. Cold weather injuries can be serious, so stay informed and prepared this winter.
The Soo Locks in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan closed to marine traffic earlier this week for critical winter maintenance. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers will perform a range of tasks, including installing a temporary bridge, repairing the Poe Lock, and replacing pier fender timbers. Contractors are also working on upstream stop log repairs at the Poe Lock. These essential upgrades ensure the locks continue to operate efficiently when the shipping season resumes in March. The Soo Locks handle over 4,500 vessels annually, carrying vital cargo like iron ore and coal.
The Minnesota Department of Education has announced new investments in computer science education. 12 K-12 schools and districts across the state will receive grants to expand access to computer science opportunities. These grants, approved by Governor Tim Walz and the legislature, will support professional development for educators and help create sustainable programs for students. Commissioner Willie Jett emphasized the importance of these grants in preparing students for future success, stating, quote, "These grants will help educators and school communities build strong programs that bring computer science to more students and ensure every learner in Minnesota has the opportunity to develop critical skills for the future."
Next, we'll send you over to Denny's desk with Denny Anderson. Denny?
And thank you very much, Maria, and welcome to Denny's desk. Now, next Monday, we celebrate Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And as we prepare, the region takes a moment to reflect on how far we have come and how far we have yet to go in the pursuit of equality and justice. Dr. King's dream of racial harmony, diversity, and equity has always held a special resonance here in Duluth, a city with a rather complex history. The Clayton Jackson McGee Memorial stands as a place of somber remembrance and resolve. It's a powerful reminder of the injustice that took place here and as a call to action for the community. The memorial is a focal point during MLK events. It reminds us Duluth continues to wrestle with its past to build a better future. Duluth has made strides in fostering dialogue and action around racial equality. The city is actually home to a rather vibrant chapter of the NAACP, which plays a leading role in organizing events that honor Dr. King's legacy, including the annual March and Rally. Now, these events are more than ceremonial. They're a testimony to the city's commitment to inclusion and to progress. Our universities and colleges offer forums, workshops, and artistic expressions that engage the community in tough but necessary conversation about race and justice. Through these efforts, Duluth seeks to embody the spirit of Dr. King's work, emphasizing not only reflection, but also action. So as we gather for the march, the breakfast, or any of the events this weekend, let's do so with purpose. Dr. King once said, "The time is always right to do what is right." This day is not just about remembering his words, but about living his values right here in our city every day of the year. And so this has been Denny's Desk. And now back to you, Maria.
Thank you, Denny. On this week's Making It Up North, our team met up with the band Sugar on the Roof, who gave a performance at the North 1033. Take a listen.
I'm going away to leave you, love, over the great saltless sea. Silver Bay to Whiskey Isle, over the great saltless sea. The ore boats call when the nights still freeze. The sugar runs in the maple trees. Duluth town over the Great Saltless Sea. Wind and sleet and ice and snow, the last lone Laker to come back home, and your lips are the sweetest I've known over the Great Saltless Sea.
That's Sugar on the Roof live from Studio A, and one from their new album, their new self-titled album. And Megan, you wrote that one, right?
I did.
And it's lovely, and there's a story behind it. What inspired that?
In 2021, something like that. It was cold in December, and my husband and my daughters and I went up the North Shore we needed to get out of the house, and there was no snow on the ground, and we traveled all the way up to Grand Portage and walked around and looked at Canada from afar, and I saw a sign in Grand Portage sort of next to the lake that was talking about the lake, and I saw that phrase, the Great Saltless Sea, and as someone who is not from here, I'd never heard that before, and struck me as a really beautiful phrase. So I gave myself the homework assignment of writing a Carter-style ballad about a taconite runner who left his love in Duluth Harbor every season to go run taconite, and then would return to her at the end of the season. So that's the story that's up.
And how did that? Did it come quickly? Was it a challenge? How did it go?
Oh, that one came pretty quickly. I would, if I have a task as a songwriter, it helps me a lot. Yeah, a prompt, a homework assignment. So once I have given myself the assignment, then I can execute. It's really finding the hook of the thing.
Have you ever done one of those groups where people get a new prompt every month or week or whatever?
I'm open. If anyone, reach out, DM me.
And we were talking a little bit beforehand about, you were kind of rethinking your creative process, and we promised that we would bring that up. So,
Clancy, do you want to opinion my self-criticism?
Oh, you mean regarding the interview you had this morning?
Yes. Yes, I was saying I had difficulty as that songwriting has not always come easily for me.
Right, but we were also just talking about how everybody has a sort of different process of writing songs, and no process is wrong. It's just everybody approaches it differently.
Totally.
So that was all.
What I was going to share is that I'm also a theater director, and I have recently really come to accept that my directing process is totally different than any other directing process I've ever experienced. And for a long time I thought I wasn't good at it because I didn't do the way Harold Klerman told me to do it in the book On Directing. But it turns out there's no rules about how you make things. And
especially in high school theater.
So I think it's a good awareness to have of that's one of the things that can limit us as creative people, that we feel like our process should be a certain way. And really there are no rules in this era of so much information.
Yeah.
To just remember that those are merely suggestions, not the rules of how to do things. Yeah. And everybody's process is valid when it makes work that's important to you. So.
Yeah.
Well, and I love the fact that even though it is something that challenges you, you still do it. I think that's the thing. I think sometimes people give up if they don't think they're good at something right away or that it's not easy, but you just keep doing it. And I think that's the thing sometimes.
And not everything's going to hit, right? Sometimes you write something and you're like, no, noopers, keep that one in the drawer. So.
Our guest this week is Mark Spinn, one half of the team at Diamond MC Entertainment, a DJ company who specializes in weddings. Mark, thank you for joining us this week. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yes. So how did you get your start in this DJ business, specifically weddings?
Yeah, it's kind of it's a funny story. My whole family is very musical. Everyone in my family sings or plays something or does something musically. And I've always loved music, and and been around a lot of it. And it was actually through, believe it or not, classified ads. Way back in the day, a friend of mine saw a classified ad for a DJ company looking for DJs. And so he said, "You'd be really good at this." And so I was like, "Okay, I'll give it a shot." So I went there and interviewed and went out and saw, what a DJ does, and went to a wedding, and I fell in love with it. So it kind of grew from there.
And you said that you've been in this 20 years now.
Yeah, it'll be coming up on 20 years in July, believe it or not. Like, it just blows me away that it's been that long. It went quick.
So it goes quick, but a lot of things have changed in that time frame. Tell us what some of the big things are.
Yeah, I mean, just weddings in general, wedding trends, the sophistications of weddings, those things have all changed. Back in the day, when you looked at 90s weddings, they were very gimmicky, very game showy. It was not uncommon for it to kind of look and feel more like a game show than a wedding with, traditions and things of that nature. And over time and over the years, it has developed into a more elegant affair, more high-profile affair. And
so we're not doing the chicken dance anymore.
Not so much, no. In fact, that is probably one of the most "Please Do Not Play" songs that we
Good to know. That's good to know.
we get at a lot of weddings these days. And so it's gotten to be, as I alluded to before, very very mulletish, where it's business in the front, party in the back, where it's just very elegant and light and hors d'oeuvres and classy and beautiful decor and very picturesque moments, and then just a really fun dance party at the end.
Sure, that's what we want. And we're talking about booking season as well. How many months in advance should we be thinking about?
Well, and again, it depends on what vendor you're looking for. If you're looking for a photographer, you're looking for a wedding venue, your safest bet is usually about 2 years out.
Wow.
Now, if you're looking for a DJ, realistically, you should be in at least the year out or a little bit more to get the person that you want. But I would say most couples tend to book anywhere from 10 to 14 months out from their date.
And what do you specifically do with your company that might set you apart from others?
Well, what we try to do is create an experience for not only the couple but for their guests. We're there not only to make it fun, but we're also there to tell their story and to highlight them and to show who they are as people, and really get their guests involved in what and who they are and the love that they share. And so, with our approach, we tend to start working with couples months in advance, and we brainstorm and we're talking ideas and we're talking about what do you want this to look and feel like, how do you want this to flow, who's going where are they going to be, because it takes a lot of work to make something look effortless.
You're kind of the heartart of the event.
Right, and a lot of times, the venue is going around and they're resetting the room and they're plating and they're doing things and they're attending to guest needs, and the caterers are getting food ready and the photographers taking pictures, and the DJ is one of the few vendors that are able to really see the whole room and be able to guide and just put the pieces together. So really, in essence, your DJ is acting as the glue for your wedding. And so they're guiding the ship, they're making sure food is ready, they're making sure the photographer is ready, so when they do those grand entrances, the photographer's catching all the best shots, and they're making sure that the guests know what's happening now and what's happening later and a little bit after that, and kind of guiding everybody behind and in front of the scenes and through the day. Yeah.
How do you keep that energy up? You're the livelihood of the event, right? How do you keep that up?
I think it's just in proper timeline, proper planning, proper flow. You want to keep things moving, but you don't want to move them too fast. You don't want to rush people through things, but you want to leave yourself enough time to do things. So a lot of that is stuff that we cover with our couples early on, and just talk about where the pieces should go and what's going to be a good flow that's really going to fit, what they want and how they want their night to go. So guests aren't standing around waiting for the next thing to happen, or they're not feeling too rushed, and they're constantly being involved and they're constantly being a part of the day and seeing what's happening next and so on and so forth. So
My final question for you, what is the big trend right now? What are we seeing for weddings and events as far as venue goes and music?
The biggest trend is
You had mentioned maybe a backyard style.
yeah, I think couples are just wanting something different. They're wanting to get away from the status quo. They're wanting a more Instagrammable wedding. They're wanting a more elegant wedding, and they're wanting just a different look and feel than what maybe their parents had, or even their siblings had, or their friends had. They want to really pull their personality out into it.
Sure. Not as traditional.
Right. It's very anti-tradition. It's very very flowy, very whimsical. It could be very informal, or it could be very posh, or it could be real wild and crazy.
And that's all your job. You customize that. That is so cool.
Yeah.
Mark, thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure.
And now we are sending you on a trip with Wildwoods, a wildlife rehabilitation center right here in Duluth. We connected with their team to learn what you can do if you see an animal in distress.
My name is Jessica LeBombard, and I'm the Executive Director at Wildwoods, a Wildlife Rehabilitation Center in Duluth. At Wildwoods, we are a rehabilitation center for orphaned and injured wildlife. And so for orphaned wildlife, the goal is to raise those animals and then to return them to the wild. When we're looking at injured and ill wildlife, we try to bring them back to health, and we work with other rehabbers across the state with, again, the goal of bringing the animal to health and then releasing it back into the wild. We get about anywhere between 1,100 to 1,500 animals a year, and representing up to 130 different species. And so they come here in a variety of ways, but mostly it's members of the public who find an animal in need, and then they call us. And so there's animals that are hit by cars, there's birds that strike windows, there's baby animals that for whatever reason have their nest disturbed and are separated from their mothers. And so we really rely on the public who run into those animals to call us, and then they're the ones also who transport the animals to us. I would say the most common animal, especially in the summer, would be gray squirrels and eastern cottontail rabbits. So we get a couple hundred rabbits a year. Most of the rabbits come because you have dogs that are pawing through nests, and in the process, babies can become separated from the mother rabbit, or they can be injured. And you also have predators, obviously, that are going to be going after the larger bunnies, and so sometimes that results in orphaned animals. In terms of squirrels, most of the squirrels that arrive here are because their nest has somehow been disturbed, and that could be, again, disturbed by an animal, or it could be people cutting down trees. It could also be, like a windstorm or something like that, where the babies fall out of the nest. Another very common call we get in the spring is nestlings that, again, either have fallen out of the nest, or for whatever reason the parent has abandoned the nest. We get about 130 species a year, and so most of the animals are definitely either migratory birds that pass through this area, or they're native to this area. But some of the animals that we get are a little bit different. We did receive a golden eagle, and for us that's at least the first time in the past 6 years that a golden eagle has come to Wildwoods. We have gotten a fisher, which it's a large mustelid, and that's not an animal that we usually get. We also this year have had a couple of boreal owls and a screech owl, and again, you don't usually find a screech owl this far north, and then the boreal owls, came down from Canada. So it does depend. If we're talking about spring babies, we can have animals that are here anywhere from 2 to 3 months. Some of it does depend on the age of the baby when they arrive, whether it's a newborn or whether it's been around for a couple of weeks. Nestlings tend to stay up to 2 to 3 months, and then when we get baby animals, like for example a porcupine, that animal will generally be here up to 3 months. And again, this does depend on the age of the animal when it enters into care here. When we're talking about animals that are injured and ill, generally we perform triage, and if they're beyond our capacity to treat, then we'll only keep them between 24 to 72 hours, and then at that point we'll find transportation for them to a rehab facility that's able to address their trauma issues. About 80 to 90% of the animals we get are here because they've had a negative interaction with a human. And so it's kind of the thinking that we have to have. Okay, how do my actions negatively impact these animals that we're sharing space with? So when you think about development, when you think about encroachment into wild areas, there is going to be an impact on the animals, and those animals are going to start to appear in our neighborhoods. They're going to be crossing roadways and things like that. So we just have to be cognizant that there are animals out there and that we do inadvertently injure them quite a bit. And keep your eyes on the, when you're driving, think about the animals that are going to be crossing the road. Think about the raptors and the owls that are going to be flying. Think about the impact that your vehicle can have on four-leggeds and on the feathered animals. So keep an eye out on the roadway, and watch your speed. If you see an animal that's in distress, that's when you pick up the phone and call Wildwoods. We don't recommend approaching an animal. And for a couple of reasons. One, because you don't know the exact status of the animal. And two, because we do have animal diseases out there. Avian influenza is a big issue now, especially in wild birds. And there are animals like raccoons and skunks that can have rabies and distemper. So you want to be careful about approaching any wild animal. That's the first thing. The second thing is that people sometimes mistake a baby animal for an orphaned animal. And so one of the worst things you can do, for example, is if you see a fawn curled up, the worst thing you can do is approach the fawn and pick it up. So what we our basic rule of thumb is if you see an animal and you think that animal is in distress, call Wildwoods, and then we will walk you through whatever scenario you find yourself in.
So fun to see all those little baby animals.
I know, those baby ducks.
Yeah. And it's great to have Wildwoods right here in town. There's so many animals that need help.
Well, I know she kind of alluded to some of the owl rescues as of late that have been kind of unique. I know on social media we saw a few that happened a few weeks ago, a snowy owl, and it's great to have that resource in the community to see them get help and hopefully re-released.
Fun to see those cute ducks too.
Yes, yeah, the ducks.
Well, before you go, let's take a look at what you might be up to this weekend. Starting this Saturday, it's Take a Kid Ice Fishing Weekend in Minnesota. Residents age 16 or older can fish without a license if they take a child younger than 15 fishing along with them. The Minnesota DNR advises anglers to put safety first and check the ice and weather conditions before making plans. Ice safety guidelines can be found at mndnr.gov/ice safety.
On Monday, January 20th, the Martin Luther King Jr. Community Breakfast will be held at First United Methodist Church in Duluth, with food being served at 7 a.m. This year's event will feature a keynote speaker, live music, and entertainment, all broadcast from the Minneapolis Convention Center from 8 to 9:30 a.m. Any donations go to support the United Negro College Fund, which helps support students of African heritage throughout Minnesota to attend college. More information can be found at mlkbreakfast.com.
Also happening on Martin Luther King Day at the Deck Symphony Hall from noon to 1:30 p.m., a collection of speakers and performers hope to inspire and challenge the community to carry on Dr. King's work. The event is free to attend and open to the public. More information can be found at the DuluthNAACP.org/MLK. It's going to be a cold weekend.
I know, I was going to say, it looks like another cold MLK Day as well.
It feels so nice today, almost
Yes.
like spring out there.
And then we're gonna plummet.
I love the Northland, right? Well, that does it for this week's show. Go out and enjoy your weekend. I'm Brett Scott.
And I'm Maria Hewitt.
Thanks for joining us.